I woke up this morning and decided I want to make a fishing game. So, what I was thinking is, I have this world, and there are mountains on the side, so you can't get out of it. Okay, these are mountains. So we have 4 ponds. And you have your player, and they have to go fish in each pond, for the fish. And every pond is going to have their own fish. So that's kind of the plan. And then each fish get better as you go from pond to pond, and then you get a better fishing rod, and then you win the game by catching the last fish. Now, let's make it. So the first thing we need to do is make the actual terrain. I opened up Blender, and with my abysmal skills, I whipped up this. Let's add some color. That's more like it. Now, we just need to add fish and all the other stuff. Once again, I whip open Blender, and this time, I start to make a fish. I have no clue what I was doing, but hey, now I have this fish, and I think it's looking pretty nice. There's still no functionality though, we just have this fish in our land. After making the fish in the terrain, I'm practically a Blender expert at this point. So, I quickly whipped up this fishing rod with my new skills, wrote some scripts, and now have a fishing rod that can cast. The fishing rod needs a fisherman. So we have this guy now. I named him Bob. But just having Bob isn't good enough. We need to become Bob. So I made the game first person and you play as Bob. Maybe one day this will become multiplayer and then you can actually see what Bob looks like. But for now, you are Bob. Look at him run around in his T-pose. Now I need to make it so Bob can actually fish. So I teleported the fishing rod to his hand, and when you click, it casts out. So I finally figured out how the game is going to work. When you cast the fishing rod, you can move it around the pond with your mouse. Then there will be fish that swim around, and once your bobber hits a fish, then you have to actually catch the fish. I'm still not sure how this is going to work. The longer it takes you to hook a fish though, the better the fish will be. So this is my first attempt at adding fish into the pond. The fish pick random points on the pond and keep moving around. I want to make it so, as you keep fishing, it gets progressively more difficult to dodge them. I still need to make it so you can actually catch the fish though, once you bump into them. I finally added how you're going to hook the fish. The fish will turn into a little circle once you touch it with the bobber, and it will move towards the player. Then once it's near the player, it will stay near the player and keep moving around. If you can keep the bobber inside of the fish for long enough, then you'll have caught it. I originally had the fish move around the entire pond when it was hooked, but that proved to be too difficult, as you could barely see the fish whenever it moved to the other side of the pond. So, I added a maximum distance from the player the fish can move, and it always stays near the player now. Now that fishing and hooking the fish all works, I need to make it nicer. I spent far too long trying to get the outlines on the fish to look right and making it so the bobber can always detect when you hit them. I made each fish worth a certain amount of money, so now you're incentivized to try and catch fish later because they're worth more money. I also added a wave bar that lets you know how far you have fished into the pond. The last wave never ends though, so when you get there, just catch the fish and cash in. These little changes made the game way more appealing to look at, and it just works a lot better now. I did want a 3D fish aspect to the game, so I modeled like 14 different fish in Blender. It took a long time, but they look pretty cool. Now, whenever you catch a fish, it pops up above the pond and spins around. You definitely should catch all the fish in the game and at least see what they look like. I think they look pretty good. Currently, there's a big problem in the game, where if you fall into the water, you get stuck and can't get out. I remedied this by making the water kill you. I also went ahead and made these slanted rocks appear near each pond. It's a lot easier to fish when you have a higher vantage point and can see more of the pond. This slight addition made the game much more enjoyable. I also added in a fishing rod system. Once you reach a certain amount of money, you can get an upgraded fishing rod. Upgraded rods make it a lot easier to catch fish. And this is what lets you fish in the more difficult ponds. When the game starts out, your rod is only powerful enough to really catch fish in Pond 1, and Pond 2 if you're really skilled. but by the time you get your 4th fishing rod, you're ready to start fishing in Pond 4. I quickly added a menu since every game needs a menu, and I went ahead and added a save and load system so you can get back to your game real easily. And of course you need a settings menu where you can pick the sensitivity for your mouse and your fishing rod. The game is basically now complete. I just added in a goldfish, which is the last fish, and once you catch it, you win. The goldfish is in Pond 4 and it's pretty difficult to catch, unless you get a really good fishing rod. This game took about 2 weeks of on and off work, and it was a really fun project. It turned out really similar to how I imagined it would, and I'm quite happy with that, because normally my project takes a big turn and ends out nothing like the original idea. If you want to play it for yourself, and you should, it's free and you can download it in the description.